I have been in an interracial marriage for 7 years now. I am Caucasian, and she is Asian. It seems that we receive more looks from other Asian people when we are out and about. Her family and friends accepted me without reservation, so it appears to be mainly strangers who have a problem with us. Story 1. The only thing I noticed was the sudden and sharp increase in the question, "Is this separate checks?" at restaurants. That was 15 years ago, and I either do not hear that anymore or I have stopped noticing it. Story 2. Asian man married to black woman here. The biggest challenge was the type of negative attention we received from other black people. Her family and I get along well, so it is mainly strangers. Story 3. Asian married to a Latina here. My challenge would be the language barrier with family members who only speak Spanish. Story 4. My dad is black, married to my white mother. Even though they dated and got married in the 1970s and 1980s, they faced very little, if any, pushback. My mom's side truly adored my dad, and my dad's side quickly accepted my mom. My dad said that they sometimes got stares, but that was about it. The biggest pushback they experienced was mild concern about having interracial children. Even back then, people worried we might feel confused or unaccepted. Now that I am an adult, I can say that I did not have the stereotypical biracial experience. I loved growing up biracial and felt accepted by both sides. I enjoyed the surprise and admiration people showed when I told them I was mixed. Overall, it was a very positive experience for me. I am now dating a white man, and hardly anyone reacts. I live in a very multicultural city where interracial relationships are very common. The only people who have stared or blatantly checked me out in front of my boyfriend are recent Caribbean immigrants. Story 5. Japanese woman married to a Colombian man. His Latino side cannot stand that we won't let anyone kiss our babies. It's not even a Japanese thing, although I do find the very kissy hellos and goodbyes unusual for myself. It is a very common recommendation from doctors. They still think it is because I am Japanese though. Story 6. Being black with a white partner, you always get the 21 questions from the aunts, uncles, and cousins. They ask all the things they've been curious about but were too afraid to ask a black person. It's funny. They are good-natured, but you would think I came from Mars or something. Story 7. Not married, but my first true love was Moroccan. Her mother loved me, but her father and uncles said I was only an Abid, a racist term Arabs use against black people. She was going to go with me and marry against her family, but I know enough about Arab Muslim culture to know there would be no way back for her, so we broke up. She married someone else, not the wealthy cousin they wanted her to marry. Story 8. White and married to a black woman. We definitely get stared at or glared at by older people of all races on occasion and have had some black men tell her she should leave me and be with a black man. I have never found any of it challenging or threatening, just disappointing. The biggest challenge was probably the wedding. She is from Africa, and there were many traditions and bride price customs to learn and perform. But once that was over, it was over. Story 9. The hardest thing I have had to deal with is racism towards my children. As a white man, I have no experience dealing with that, and it was hard to understand. Story 10. For my husband, it was actually speaking up when people around him were casually racist. He does not deal with it much anymore, but the stories he has told me are crazy how normalized it is. Story 11. Asian man married to a Latina woman. We get looks primarily from older Asian people, but we ignore it. Story 12. 15-year relationship, 13-year marriage between black and white partners. Different responses to everything: childcare, values, finances, family relations. One's culture is someone's default setting. Everything agreed on and worked past the dating stage quickly flies out the window. Family expectations. Black grandparents and white grandparents never imagined mixed-race grandchildren. They will still love the grandchildren, but something always feels missing. Whether they watch CNN or Fox News, the outcome is the same. To say it plainly, they simply do not love them as much. Cultural expectations. Despite growing up in an urban area, my children do not act black. They will not try that hairstyle or that fashion for white grandma, nor do they care about the community for black grandma. They are writing their own story and are focused on their own purpose. The exception rule. You marry a whole person who is still steeped in prejudice. You are just an exception. Being asked if your purchases are separate. Being asked if your children are yours. Those are the highlights. In the end, your marriage will have the ups and downs of every marriage, and you will realize your situation is nothing special. Your marriage begins and ends with both of you. If you can keep outside forces where they belong, you will do fine. Just do not cut them off completely. Give them the opportunity to have a relationship with your grandchildren. Story 13. Never noticed any looks. What has been tough is her parents being from a different culture. It would be nice to drink and talk about sports, but that is not how it is. Also, Filipino time. I really dislike it when people are late. It is hard to deal with. Story 14. Asian male, Hispanic female. Married for almost 2 years. Southern California. We exchange quick glances occasionally when we are in areas with strong cultural presence, such as Little Saigon or Santa Ana. No hate. Story 15. My Vietnamese ex and I used to get stared at by the staff and older men at our local pho restaurant. One day, she snapped and yelled at them all in Vietnamese, and they quickly left. When we left, I asked her what she had said. Yes, my vagina is ruined. You can all stop wondering about it. Story 16. I am black with a Southeast Asian girlfriend who grew up in the United States. We have had no issues. Both of our families are happy and accepting. I have not experienced any problems in interactions with others about it either. I live in a very progressive city, which helps. Story 17. Being approached by men who have mail-order wives, thinking that my partner will want to be friends with them, or by men who want a mail-order wife expecting that he will help them is frustrating. The saddest moment was when an older man with a much younger Chinese mail-order wife tried to talk to us and hang out while she had to load groceries at checkout and ask him for money. She was too ashamed to even look at me. Informing my parents was also a difficult process. Many days were spent crying and yelling until they learned to accept him. I had no issues being welcomed by his family. They are wonderful. For men, I think it is easier. For women, not so much. I am just so glad I have my own money and the autonomy to make my own choices. Story 18. I am not married, but I dated a Southeast Asian Muslim woman for a few years with the intent to marry. Everyone was pretty kind and hospitable, and my family and I were extremely respectful of them despite the culture clash. Both sides of the family enjoyed each other greatly, though my tattooed, punk and grunge family was a bit of a curveball for them. My family is not very religious, and we all get to choose our own beliefs as we grow up. Her family, on the other hand, was pretty laid back but not willing to allow an interfaith marriage because of the rules. It turns out polytheistic pagans tend to be a hard sell for a Muslim family. My girlfriend at the time knew what I believed long before dating, but I guess she expected me to change eventually. So we broke up. I do not harbor any hard feelings. I did not agree with the rules and logic of the systems they followed, but I respected that it meant a lot to them, and I genuinely would not understand how significant it was for them. She and they had their hard rules, and I had mine. There was nothing she or I could have done about it. As for strangers, there were definitely curious looks. I think the looks were more like, wow, you do not see that every day. Instead of, ugh, what are those two doing together? Story 19. I'm white, she's Japanese. We've been together for 20 years. The only problems I can think of are her insisting that crumpets are the same as pancakes and her inability to say hippopotamus on the first try. Story 20. I'm Caucasian and have been with a Japanese woman for nearly 5 years. Seriously considering marriage soon. Our biggest challenges stem from cultural differences and how we respond to them. For example, when I cancel dinner with my family saying we're busy with other plans, she sees canceling dinner with her in-laws as unacceptable. She feels embarrassed about how they might perceive her and insists on attending no matter what, even though my parents are not upset. I had to learn to be extra polite and understand subtle social cues that come naturally to her when interacting with her parents, friends, and extended family. It requires more effort due to these differences, but working through them opens your eyes to an amazing new culture. Learning a new language at age 20 was difficult but necessary since I planned to propose within the next few years. That has probably been the hardest challenge, though I am still making progress. Story 21. The absolute rampant and open racism we face when visiting Malaysia. That and the massive amount of shade thrown our way by older white women we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Story 22. I'm Mexican, and my wife has very fair skin. I'd say the biggest issue is that no one believes me when I say I'm Mexican because I am very fair-skinned. Within a family of 6 siblings, same parents, only 2 of us have very fair skin. The rest are a warm brown tone, but besides my older brother, I'm the only other one in the family fairly fluent in Spanish. Taking family pictures can be tricky because the brightness increases and washes me out, or the rest of the family looks like shadows. This is definitely not as relevant or a challenge as for others, but I thought people might laugh at me in between reading some difficult comments. I'll see myself out now. Story 23. My Chinese wife is very strict about hygiene. I used to be a morning shower person, but she insists on night showers. No shower means no bed. Other rules include no outdoor clothes on the bed or sofa. We argued a lot about these things at the beginning, but I came around, and now, 12 years later, it feels completely natural to me. Story 24. Caucasian white British person who married a Chinese Asian in the United States. I have never had any issues from anyone for 25 years. Not even side-eye. Story 25. Please look past the looks of disapproval. I see many white girls of all ages showing love for Korean pop boy groups these days on social media, and that translates over to dating as well, so the opposite is expected too. Story 26. Some Asian people do not want their children to marry individuals who are not Asian. I have been told that it is not possible for non-white individuals to be racist, so instead of prejudice, I will describe it as a very strong preference. Story 27. I am white, and she is Chinese American, first generation. There are no issues, but there are definitely cultural differences with her family that have caused strain, such as overbearing parents who want family meals every other week. This is not outside what non-mixed couples face, but the cultural aspect definitely causes friction in our friend group. All of her friends and most family members have married white men. Story 28. My fiancé is Costa Rican, and I am a white American living in Costa Rica. Honestly, it was the closeness to her family, or at least it used to be. Early on, her mom and little sister actually lived with us. For about the first 2 years, she was constantly socializing with them via phone or inviting them over. We never had peace. This usually resulted in their drama becoming our drama, and chaos breaking out over things that had nothing to do with either of us. Things have improved since then. She has become much better about boundaries, and we live with just the 2 of us. This seemed to be pretty much the norm with women here. I dated one woman who would call and talk to her brother for 3 hours a night while we were on vacation. Story 29. None really. Maybe some looks when I am with her in Greece. I have never seen a Greek woman with a visibly non-Greek man in Greece, especially outside Athens, so I assume it is extremely rare. But no one has been rude. Story 30. My wife and I actually had very few negative reactions. This is because African Americans accept those who marry or have relationships with African Americans as being one of us. My wife was harassed at work by African American women until I visited her workplaces. After that, things were okay. To answer your question, the biggest challenge was cultural. My wife had to assimilate her Filipina culture with an urban United States culture. Filipinos are reserved in personality, while people from Philadelphia, especially African Americans, are very frank and blunt in what they do and say. Story 31. I am married to an Asian woman. Her friends and family accepted me without any problems. We do not live in an area with a significant Asian population, so we have not experienced any issues of that kind. However, she grew up in such an area and often tells me stories about how judgmental people were back then. They judged others based on everything from physical appearance to professional success. Story 32. I have had more issues dealing with my side of the family than with any strangers. My solution was to cut them all out of our lives and not look back. Story 33. Not married, but have interracially dated and experienced the same thing. My family loves her, and her family loves me. Strangers who are black women often make unsolicited comments or give dirty looks. It is sad. I wish people would just learn to mind their own business. My advice is to ignore it and joke about it if your partner is comfortable with that. Story 34. I am white/mixed race Middle Eastern and was married to a Mexican woman. There are many cultural aspects that I would describe as toxic. Her mother constantly told her, "You need to wear makeup for him and look pretty, or he will leave you," among other things. There was verbal abuse from her father toward everyone in the family. Everyone was too stupid to do anything right for him. However, those were mostly sad for her. It became unacceptable for me when I started being verbally abused by my wife. We talked about it many times. She acknowledged it was unacceptable, but nothing changed. I left while she was pregnant. We co-parent our child. The verbal abuse continues but does not reach the level of requiring a restraining order. I avoid speaking to her as much as possible. Everything has to be done through the courts because she will not be reasonable. She asked the court to allow me only 2 hours a week, supervised in her living room, with my newborn son until he was 1 year old. I am glad that did not happen. I dated a Mexican woman before her, and it was not like that. Some parts were difficult, but she was not abusive. There were some problems, but nothing that was a deal breaker. The biggest challenge for me was leaving, despite my desire to make it work and have a healthy relationship. It was not going to happen. Story 35. Is this something you have noticed, or something she is telling you she has noticed? I will be honest, my ex used to constantly complain about feeling that people were looking at us and judging us for being different races or for her being too young for me or whatever. I tried to figure it out, but I never saw anything like that. People are usually too involved in their own issues to pay attention to anyone else. I used to think it was her anxiety, but it turned out to be her personality disorder, and things ended up going south pretty quickly. This was just one of the signs I missed. Maybe it is where you are, but I think you are describing one of the most common pairings anywhere right now, and I would be genuinely surprised if you were getting as much attention as you describe. I would not worry about it regardless. Your life is no one else's business if it is working for you. Story 36. Sorry that is happening to you. I have been married to an Asian woman for 8 years now, and I have never had a single issue. Story 37. White male, and to be honest, I have dated more non-white women than white women. Non-white women universally tend to be sweeter, more devoted, and overall more pleasant to deal with. White women are very often just tedious. Story 38. To be honest, I would rather marry someone outside my race. I am currently single, 22 years old, male. In my opinion, I have met many women during my college years, and I can say that most women of a different race than me are much better than those of my own race, white American. This is based on my experiences with Generation Z women. Story 39. Equivalence. I understand you have your own culture, but you married a Caucasian woman and you live in my country, so my customs should take precedence over yours, almost like a tiebreaker. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.